You're listening to Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast. Comics, television, movies, and more. If it impacts fan culture, we have something to say about it. And now, your hosts, Michael, Jordan, Cliff, and Seth.
Alright, welcome back everyone. Ka-Pow, the pop culture podcast is here once again. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm the illustrious Michael K. Easton.
So we're here. This is still don't have this figured out, but
it's getting sharper. We're honing our abilities.
Yep.
We're coming at you from Zoom. We are socially distanced and responsible.
I don't know about responsible, but
We are far away from each other. Cliff's in his garage.
Mm-hmm. It's very
He got
tropical.
kicked out of his house tonight.
oh my god!
Oh my god! Michael's toes are in the air.
Save that for your OnlyFans. The Barefoot Postman.
I'd say one of those romance novels.
What is the foot washing procedure like after this job as opposed to your last job? Is it more strenuous foot washing or is there less problems?
The last one, that's why they grew the bristle. You had to use that on your feet. That's why they grew that on their face.
I would say it's last time it was just because of the smell was so horrible from the This time it's more for pain relief, I guess.
Well, there we go. Yeah, you know us. Yeah, you know Michael a little better.
That's as good of a segue as any.
Hey, we do that from time to time. We throw out a little questionnaire to learn a little bit more about us. And we call it, Yeah, You Know Me.
You down with KPP?
Yeah, you know me.
What the hell is wrong with you people?
What's wrong with you? What is wrong with you?
I hate so much about the things that you choose to be. Why are you the way that you are?
I came across this one on reddit.com. Somebody asked, just giving proper credit. There's probably a link there could be a link in the comments. Because we talk about time travel a lot. We like sci-fi. We like thought exercises. So
Bring it.
if you were visited by someone claiming to be you from the future, how would you make them prove they're you? Obviously, this is, many TV shows and movies have used this plot device. And some older version of you just walks in the door and says, "Hey, I'm you, Great Scott, I'm you from the future." And you would say, "Prove it." There's got to be a way. What do you think he would do?
I mean,
There was a guy in the comment section, I was reading some of the answers, and he said, and this seemed to be a common thread, that people have thought about this and have either a code word or a phrase or a number they've thought of for someone to prove they're either psychic or from the future. I'd people just carry their, and one guy in the comment said, "It's literally the only fight my wife and I ever had that lasted like a whole day." Because he would not tell her his secret code for someone from the future. Like, his wife would not let it go.
yeah, I might. Well, I first thought was I don't have like a birthmark or anything, so but and only Michael's OnlyFans cam boy. He's got a new cam. Only they know his birthmarks. To me, it'd have to be like a secret or something you just never told anybody, you never talked about. Which that could be anything, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever we say today, if it's something like that, you can't use it because
right, yeah. You don't have to give away your secret, but
no, but
I don't know what would be the best way.
I have a couple things off the top of my head. Like if future me walked in here right now, I would say, okay, what have you watched recently that you would not talk about on the podcast? What did you watch all of, like every episode, and not talk about on the podcast?
Well, I know the answer is not Happy Days, so
no,
don't answer
true.
that.
I would definitely talk about it. Something else. I know one. I collect something I've never mentioned on here. And I'll just go get it. I'll get it. You guys discuss your thing.
Well, it's interesting because before he even mentioned like birthmarks or a scar or something, that's kind of immediately what I thought of. Like, what would be something like a scar or something that nobody really, could identify like how it happened or whatever. And I definitely have like on this finger here, I have it's hard to see on that camera, but I have a little scar right here that, there we go. That I did when I was very young. I got my finger caught in the conveyor belt at the grocery store, the checkout line.
Oh, jeez.
After my mom like told me not to do it. I mean, very young, and it cut my finger really bad right there when I was little, and I used to joke at one point that it kind of cursed me because it happened when our local Kroger was on where the Big Lots store that I worked at for years and years. The Kroger was there first, and that's when I cut this finger right there on that conveyor belt. And I always said it cursed me that for later on in life that I would have to work there forever. But that was my first thought.
Well, that's really weird because that's why I was thinking of my finger. I have a scar on my knuckle and like a weird cut on my hand, but my finger has a little mark on it. It was not a conveyor belt, but it was a similar story. When I was a little kid, I did something to my finger, and I would. That's what I would ask my future self. What is this little mark on your finger from?
Yeah, I think that we might have to, because if we're really looking at this, is this doppelganger might have all your scars and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
It might be something that they know,
Yeah, they'd have to know how it happened.
Right.
Do you
Exactly.
have 10? You have an extra finger, or what are you showing us?
It's this finger right here. Like if we want to go down that route of scars, the very
finger scars. Do I have to?
What am I looking at?
This has become Jaws. We're just gonna start there. Look at I got this on a tiger shark.
Trying to see. I don't know if you can see it, but anyway, this finger, I had the tip ripped off, and this finger right here was just like hanging off of it, barely, like right there, and they had to sew it back on. I was playing out back with my brother and I, and there was like
Just got done digging your toys up.
No, unfortunately, there was like a.
That's not true, Seth.
There was a bar with weights on it, and we were rolling it around or something like that, and there was like a jagged edge on the concrete, and I told him to stop, and he didn't, and my hand got caught up underneath the weights against that concrete, and just the knee-jerk reaction was to go like this, and I had gloves on too, because it was, it must have been cold out, like wintertime, but I think I was in maybe 4th grade, and so it ripped the tip of this one finger off, and they had to sew that one back on.
Well, mine was boring then. Mine was, I was in class and my pencil was really, really sharp. And I was writing something. This was like 2nd or 3rd grade. And I was writing something and I turned it around to erase. And I slammed my eraser down. And I apparently had my finger right here. And my pencil jammed up into my finger. And I raised my hand and like the pencil was stuck in it. And I went, ah! And like shook my hand and flung the pencil across the room. And it somehow tattooed. I've had a little tattoo mark from pencil in my finger ever since.
But if we did want to get more demented, I would go along with what's my safe word.
What is it?
I'm not saying. If you can guess it, I'll tell you.
You'll tell me if I get it right?
Yeah, I will.
It's got to be a breed of owl.
Yeah. Is it who?
No.
No. Keep guessing.
Oh.
Get back to
All right. Mine was I'm not, really very religious anymore, but I grew up Catholic, and a big thing when you are a kid, Catholic kid, you have to have like a favorite saint. You have to have a saint. They do make you do saint things. It's always you dress up like and do things. I went to a Catholic school, so there was always this saint stuff. But so I collected medals of my favorite saint. Does anybody have a guess?
St. Christopher.
A couple Catholic boys here.
St. Christopher. St. Michael's.
St. Michael's. That's who I was. I think that my middle name's Michael. I think they were. I'm sure that Seth is biblical and Michael, I'm sure, has something to do with the saint. But no, my favorite saint. I don't know if I've ever talked about to anybody, so I feel like this would be a good one. But I always had a few medals of him. Here's one. This is a big one. This was bigger than I thought it was going to be when I got it. Here's another one, but you can't see them real well. This is the one I actually wear this sometimes. Just let's see if I can get it to show up here.
It's like a night on.
Maybe the big one will show up. Yeah, you always say that. It's Saint George, and he's the most metal saint that ever lived. He killed a dragon because Catholicism. I was like, well, what do we got here? Let's flip through. What'd this guy do? Oh, he fed to people. Oh, this guy took care of the sick. Yeah. Whatever this one said, I refuse to deny God. Yeah, yada, yada. St. George, what did he do? He killed a dragon. Oh, like, okay.
Yeah, if you have to pick when you're a kid, how does every kid not pick him?
I don't know.
Also, Epcot. He is in in the Germany pavilion. They have right in the square. They have a statue of St. George killing the dragon.
Really? I gotta see that.
Is it Peace Dragon? Because Peace will be happy with it.
The Kill Peace Dragon. Anyway, that's my guy.
I remember St. George from Herberto Ramos comic series through Image that he had about the vampire kid. I'm trying to remember what the name it was. It was really beautifully drawn. But he had a character in there that was St. George.
I just think it's so funny. It's like, yeah, sure. I mean, Catholicism, you could just have all kinds of stuff like that just like, whatever. Sure.
Now, what if you found out that's also a safe word?
It is not. But that would be funny.
Okay, so, I don't know what I expected from that, but sure.
Not 3 finger injuries.
I have more finger injuries.
That's another. Yeah, that would be another. Yeah, you know me. Is what's your most gruesome bodily injury?
If the next question you randomly pick out is tell us about your best finger injury, you guys really blew your wad on this one.
I got a few other ones. I'm alright.
Well,
okay, so that's like the future talk.
Yeah. So time travel. Yes, I read a book.
It's just a jump to the left. With your hands on your hips.
What's that? Who's talking? Somebody at the beach with you, Clef?
Not over here.
It sounded like someone was hooting. It sounded.
It's just me and the cat.
He wants us to stop.
We're not stopping. That's not our podcast safe word. All right. Time travel book of the week. Guys, I killed Adolf Hitler.
Uh-oh.
This podcast has Nazi paraphernalia on the screen. There is...
Jason, correct?
Yes. This is by Jason. It's from like 15 years ago, I think. This guy's from Norway, lives in France now, I think. He's done... This is his most famous thing as far as I know. What do you know, Jordan, about Jason?
A lot of books that look kind of like that, or like an anthropomorphic character and...
Yes, very simplistic drawings. And yes, everybody's anthropomorphized. And this particular story is about, as you can imagine, going back to kill Hitler. The main character is a hitman, and he's getting hired by everybody to just kill random people. Oh, they don't like their boss or their girlfriend or this or that. And it's really a love story. I read it again today to refresh, and I enjoyed it more the second time because I remember being a little confused the first time because they're animals, so many of them look the same. There'll be a lot of dogs or cats or whatever. It's like I don't know that I followed it real well the first time I read it, but anyway, it made a lot more sense this time. But he goes back to kill Hitler, and there's of course, nothing ever works out the way you think it's going to, but it's all about the relationship between the main character and his girlfriend, and how they, there's some time travel that goes on back and forth or whatever, but how it plays out. It's really just about their relationship. And it was very sweet, and it's very slowly paced. It's just I have a feeling like all of his stuff has to be exactly like this, just like matter of fact, and just very short talking to each other. I don't know. I really liked it. I thought it was totally worth reading. If you have at your local library or something, check it out for sure. It's a quick read. And it's another good addition to the time travel library. I'm glad I got it. So, we need to talk about some stuff we've been watching. We need to get into that taint.
Ooh.
Remember to taint up and lifting.
We somebody commented that they liked our Happy Days talk, Jordan.
Yeah. Once again, a comment from Terry W. Irvin II, who enjoyed all this Happy Days talk we're doing.
A man of a certain age like us that knows what's good.
Exactly.
We're up to we're still trying to find what's going on in the Happy Days taint there between Jumping the Shark and Arnold's burning down. So
Me TV or My 5, whatever they call it, is has hit the spot. We're into Arnold's has burned down. So Seth, you stopped getting that channel, but you were still gonna try to keep up on it.
Dale, if you need to watch, if you need is a good word. If you need to watch this, Daily Motion, I'm pretty sure has every episode of Happy Days. So there's a catch though. Catch. It's all flipped. So what's on the right is on the left, and this you got to get used to it.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't as devastating for me when Arnold's burnt down because I didn't recognize the place.
And the bathrooms are on the left side.
Yeah. Anyway, so some of before, where we left off was Marion had went to jail. That's what you correct? That's where you left off. And let's get in there. I'll just look up the episodes. Season 7.
I only wrote down the high points of these. So
okay, well, I'm just going to click through the episodes here real quick. We had Richie got a job at the newspaper place. He was moving papers around. And
I did write that one down.
Okay, what would you have to say?
Because it was interesting. Okay, Richie, he's a journalism major. He gets a job at the newspaper. Well, he has to work in the loading docks, all right? So he's already feeling, it's beneath him.
Right. So
he gets the job, and there's a guy already working there who's just a real jerk to him. And like everything, go to Fonzie. Fonzie, he's being mean to me.
Yeah.
So in my mind, I'm thinking, well, that's where it's going to go to. Richie meets a jerk. Like, Richie has good ideas to improve the place. And, like, the guy's too mean to him. They're going to have to learn to get together. But it actually took a twist.
Yeah.
Into, like, weird class struggle territory. Where Fonz is like, why do you have a job, Richie? What, to buy some extra burgers at Arnold's and take Lori Beth on a date? This guy has a job. He's got a family and a kid. He's like, this job is everything to him. And you came into his territory. I'm like, holy crap. Like, he's privilege shaming him.
Yeah. Yeah, it was an excellent moment because the guy was definitely trying to mark his territory, and it was a good moment when Richie kind of took the fall and all that, and good stuff. Then we had Richie falls in love, which I don't want to leave out that now at the beginning of that episode we just talked about. You always have the Potsy and Ralph ridiculous stupid thing come on. They came in dressed as cardinals. Then the very next episode they came in as the mouse and the clock from Hickory Dickory Dock. Because anyway, and Richie he's had enough with this kid stuff, and he falls in love with this traveling photographer, gorgeous woman. They met over root beer at the bar. It was like a very, Richie's trying to grow up on this show. They're getting old.
He's already going bald.
Right.
He has a growing bald spot.
The problem is, it's simultaneously has become the late 70s, and they're all growing their hair long, and it really accentuates that he is losing his hair. It's pretty great. Then we had a couple episodes where I think it was all about Henry Winkler is just dying to do stage work. He just is like, which it's funny to watch that and think about Barry. Now it's so fun that's what
my mind goes to Barry quite a lot on this.
Yeah. He had an episode where it was called Fonzie's a Thespian, and it was Marion was in a play or whatever, and ended up, of course, Fonzie has to save the day and be in it. Just like he had to be a magician. He had to be a freaking escape artist. Also. Then there was a burlesque show, because why? Why was there a burlesque show?
Because Mr. C was right on the cusp of becoming Grand Poobah.
Ah, yes. Does that make...
Of the Leopard Lodge.
Does that make us Mrs. Poobah? Isn't that what Mrs. C said? So I was very excited to hear some Poobah talk. So they did a whole burlesque show. The whole gang had to step in. And it was, it was what it was. It was very season 7.
And of course, it was that we need to put on a stage show. Where can we find a bunch of attractive girls? You know, camera cuts to Fonz. Like, hey.
Right. Oh yeah. I like all these things. Like the play. I think going back to the play, Marion's made this comment, which really stuck out to me, that she'd raised 2 children. Yada yada yada. It was like freaking justice for Chuck. What the heck? Ugh. Anyway, then we had Joni almost posed naked.
Shortcake.
Shortcake, blue eyes. Chachi was working for a photographer that took pictures of naked girls. And
were the ratings getting low? I mean, what?
It had already jumped the shark cliff. We've established that.
Yes. Anyway, she wasn't going to do it, but that was the big excitement there. Then we had Archie. Freudian slip.
Yeah.
Okay. Richie had his drink spiked, and he acted
the other one I wrote down.
Yeah, what'd you say?
So he's at a fraternity party. They're drinking out of the punch bowl, and goody two shoes Richie doesn't want to drink, but his fraternity brother spikes it. And they weren't clear with what he spiked it with, but Richie lost his mind.
Yeah.
I
was like, is this what a person that doesn't drink thinks happens when you're drunk?
Yeah. So he was mean to his friends. He was being crude to Lori Beth. He kicked in the drum set. The bass drum, he's kicking it in. He's like, I am the Lizard King. He's he has totally lost his mind at this party.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
So his friends are just gonna turn on him, but then they learn, you know what? Richie deserves benefit of the doubt. He's been there for us all these times.
I will say this: that scene where he comes in and has to apologize to them and doesn't know what he did, and they're being jerks to him. I know that I have seen that scene already in this rewatch. He's done something before, and they basically did the same. I mean, Ralph sitting there and telling him to drop dead and everything. I mean, I think they used the same script for that scene. Then we had what was it? We had Fonzie versus the She Devils. That was when we had the She Devils. It was basically dinner for schmucks.
That one didn't live up to where my hope was. With a lady biker gang on Happy Days, it didn't quite deliver.
Yeah, it was dinner for schmucks. This lady biker gang went out and got the biggest jerks, idiots they could find, which of course was Ralph, Apache, and Richie, and take them back, have a contest who's got the dumbest person. And then Henry Winkler gets to act like he's a nerd and go in there and save the day. Oh, they chained Chachi to the sink. He had broke up with somebody. I don't know.
But that one had a good moment where Fonzie gets on him for dumping a girl. He's like, Fonzie, you dump hundreds of girls. I never dump one. Every girl that's with me knows the deal up front, and we're always honest with it. So that he's a player and a cad, but he respects the women, and they all know what the deal is. When he snaps his fingers, what happened? Someone else is going to show up. So they kind of established that he's still a good man. He's not a womanizer.
Right.
He doesn't like someone. Yes, doing a woman wrong. Yes,
that's right. He's teaching Chachi. He's got to be harsh on Chachi. Then we had the mechanic, which was the guy in the wheelchair. Came. So there's a couple of those things this season where somebody is has some sort of disability or whatever, and they have a show about it. He's a very angry man.
Yeah, it's another weird one where you think it's about, anyone in a wheelchair can do what an able-bodied person can do, but he wheels in do I get the job or what? And he's just
yeah,
a guy in a wheelchair can be a jerk too.
Right, it's the most over the top. The guy was hilarious at being angry.
Right,
I know. If you just pick out moments in these episodes, you'd never believe that it was written like it. It was like, in this episode, a guy in a wheelchair is going to come over and give Richie a haircut.
You want a haircut or not?
Right. Yeah, he's like, I can't believe somebody would say that. Well, I can't believe somebody asked for a haircut that doesn't need one. Anyway, then the next one, they were closing Inspiration Point to bring the highway in. They're bringing the highway in there to get 5.8 more flow. Traffic in there, up the sales, the hardware store.
Yeah, Cunningham Hardware is going to turn a bigger profit.
Anyway, Fonzie came in cement shoes. It was a whole thing. I don't know. I don't remember much about that episode, and I just watched it. We had Here Comes the Bride again, where they're going to get remarried. And they hired apparently some comedy duo from the time. Were those guys famous?
They acted like they were, and people wooed at them.
I thought you would know. I thought you were going to say, yeah, those guys were on the Dick Van Dyke Show.
I have no clue who those guys were.
But they hired this like
same with the guy from the Burlesque show was somebody.
Oh yeah,
somebody who was famous in the 50s.
Yeah. The girl he was with, I think his sidekick, that was Elvira, wasn't it?
I don't know. It could have been.
I think it was.
Huh.
Anyway, these guys like were catering the wedding or whatever. They were terrible. And I know that the guy that yelled over the wall in that episode, their neighbor, is Ron Howard's dad.
He's shown up in a couple as the mean neighbor, yeah.
Anyway, then they went camping, and Richie was in charge.
Speaking of Archie Richie got mauled by a bear.
He got mauled by a bear. His sleeping bag got all tore up and everything. Yeah, it's all coming together. And they're lucky that it's season 7, so there can't be that many seasons left that he has to have that scar.
Actually, I did the math. You're wrong. There's a whole lot more still to go.
Then, I don't know. Joni was having to decide whether she was going to go to the Alamo. Yeah, which was, do you know what the Alamo is, Cliff?
In Texas?
In Milwaukee.
Oh, no.
It's a special part of Inspiration Point, which did not get torn down, by the way. It's a part where there's no lights hit it. So if you go to the Alamo, that's you doing something really dirty. And she got a ring.
You always remember the Alamo.
You remember that.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the Alamo. It's a great stuff we're watching. Anyway, she didn't go. So she didn't do the naked stuff, and she didn't go to the Alamo either. Then the next episode, things ramped up because this was it. Arnold's was burning down. Backwards Arnold's for me was burning down.
All right, season 7.
Bizarro Arnold's. That's the name of this episode. Bizarro Arnold. Left was right, right was left.
Season 7, episode 17.
Hot stuff.
Okay, so here's what I just learned. This episode aired January 22nd, 1980. I was 5 days old. This is the first, that's the first episode of Happy Days that I was ever alive for.
Oh my God.
And Arnold's burned down.
That makes a lot of sense. Everything was
been my life.
pretty good. Everything had been going pretty good until a little something happened. And all this time, we've been blaming it on Arnold's burning down.
Jordan was born. There we go.
Holy smokes.
So, Fonz jumped the shark.
You cross your heart up to die? Stick a needle in your eye?
Season 5, episode 3 is when he jumped the shark. September of 1977. Arnold's burned down season 7, 1980. So there are 67 episodes between the two.
My ex-wife was born on September 25th, 1977. So that makes sense. You guys screwed everything up.
So there was a sweet spot in the middle there, and then everything. Okay, so if you think Happy Days jumped the shark in season 5, Happy Days went 11 seasons. So jumping the shark, the third episode of season 5, is less than halfway into the run. I can't say it. For a show that went 11 seasons, I can't say it jumped the shark that soon.
I think
season 7 is a little bit more logical.
As we go on here, I would say we just need to rethink what the definition of jumping the shark is. Because I think what traditionally people are referring to is the reality that how ridiculous it becomes after the shark jumping. You cannot deny that these episodes we've been watching are the most ridiculous episodes.
But that's what I like best about it.
I'm not saying it's bad.
Right.
I'm just saying that's what the reference is, that it's ridiculous. It didn't used to be this crazy.
So from the minute Arnold's burns down, there are still 96 more episodes to go before it ends.
Right.
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can go for, and I only jumped in the season 5, so I didn't even rewatch the whole first section. So that's a lot more Happy Days to go.
Yeah, hey, it's up to you. The thing that still I have to go back to, I brought this up a while back. There's a name that I think in the second season maybe probably comes up. It's said several times. Jenny Piccolo.
Jenny Piccolo, yes.
And I remember what this girl looks like. And we are now almost done with season 7. And she has never been on the show yet.
She's just, everyone talks about her.
Right. She's just it's just this person that doesn't exist. But I remember what she looks like.
She ran off with Chuck.
Yeah. But we know at some point she has to. I don't think I'm crazy. She has to be on the show at some point. So I'm kind of curious when that happens. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. You tell me. You're gonna have to keep me updated whether we're going any further with this.
It is a bright spot in my day.
Yeah.
Because some of these the show we're gonna talk about here in a minute, it was so dark and dreary. It couldn't be the last thing I watched before bed.
Yeah.
So I would watch it really late at night. I can't go to bed after watching that. So I'd throw on a Happy Days. And it would mellow me back out. So it's serving a purpose in my life right now. And
you got to get a little bit of Al Rimshot Del Vecchio in there. They called him at one point. He played the drums for the first time. He was in the band because some of these episodes there was no singing actually this season, and then all of a sudden it was back. Potsy's singing every freaking episode. They got lots of fake sax, and then we had Scott Baio playing drums, and then now Al was playing the fakest ass drums you've ever seen. Jenny Piccolo, there she is, Boy Craze's best friend.
Season 9 and will remain until
says she does not appear till season 8.
Yeah, I know I've seen her in episodes. She looks
Yeah, that's her. Yeah. She's
all right, so
terrible.
Should we talk about any TV made in this year?
Why would we?
Or this decade?
Sure.
I guess.
Michael?
We got
show that is very topical with what's going on in the world right now. What could it be? The crazy wild world of Utopia. The darkest show that Jordan Lowe has ever watched.
We all have our reasons for being in this world. We all have our purpose. Utopia is a story about a genius scientist who made horrible viruses.
Ebola, MERS, Zika, predicted in dystopia years before the first case in the real world.
Yeah, you're one of those, huh?
It all has to mean something.
What have you done today to earn your place in this crowded world.
That's great. It starts with an earthquake.
You want to stay alive? Come with me. They need to kill every single person who's seen Utopia.
Snakes, an airplane.
Everything in Utopia is real. Viruses, biowarfare, man-made disease.
Minnie Bruce is not afraid.
I'm the foremost expert on this virus.
Jesus. It's a pretty serious situation. I bet your ass it's a serious situation.
Stern's flu has now been declared a national pandemic.
This is our undoing.
But we can fight it. We'll just be going into the belly of the beast, practically begging to be slaughtered. Yes.
Yeah, what?
It's extreme.
You just threw this out in our group chat. I was like, hey, has anybody had you already started watching it, or were you just checking?
Yeah,
were you recommending it to us, or were you just asking if we'd watched it?
Well, I had watched the trailer for it, and immediately it looked like it had a hook for each one of us to like dig into. That I thought as a collective that we would like this show just based on the trailer. So that when I think I'd watched maybe the first episode when I sent it out in the messenger or whatever.
So it just recently premiered on Amazon Prime, and it is based on a British show that ran 2 seasons in 2013 and 2014. And then soon after, they're trying to adapt it to an American audience. And at one point, David Fincher was attached and was going to produce and direct episodes for HBO. And then that apparently fell through. And then Gillian Flynn came on, who was the writer of Gone Girl, the novel, and then a lot of her stuff's been turned into the show Sharp Objects. So she wrote several of the episodes and was kind of the force behind this. So there's a pedigree to it, but it was dark. It was not the trailer did make it look kind of like a fun, zippy crime, apocalyptic story, but I don't know that that's quite what it was.
Yeah, that was totally what I expected. Was I thought we were going to get the group of misfit comic book fans are going to go on this adventure and decipher this story from the comic book and how it was a real thing. And it basically started off with they'd kind of already done that, and then they were gonna they're meeting up at a comic convention, but they, for the most part, they knew the story, they had picked through it, they had all their conspiracy theories done, but not exactly, because if you remember, they only knew dystopia, right? No one had ever seen utopia. Mm-hmm. So that was the big clickbait at first, was like this holy grail of for in real world it would be like finding a mint copy of Action Comics #1 or something. Like, this was, no one had seen this. They didn't even know who produced it or drew it. Like, it was like this. And that's the thing that you always get into, of like searching for something, of a plot thread that's used a lot, of like finding this mysterious object and what is it going to tell us, and so they were really wrapped up into the secrets, that all the stuff that they had learned from dystopia that utopia was going to provide to them. And I could see anyone, like, it has the hook for comic book audiences to immediately like digest it in the beginning.
And it shows a group of fans. It's a comic that came out and it seemed to be mass produced or whatever, because there's a big group of fans who just like the comic and cosplay and talk about how much they love the art. And then these people show up and think this book has secrets to reveal, and they're like, "Oh, you're one of those guys." Like, so these guys are like the fringe of the fringe, who think there are hidden messages in the art and think there's codes to be cracked. So they form this kind of ragtag group of the people who are really into it. and they think this book had predicted plagues and viruses and calamities that happened in the world. So if we get a sequel, it's going to predict what's about to happen. So yeah, the stakes were very high for them to find this book and crack all the clues open. But was this the right time to have this show? I don't know.
That was my whole thing was, I was like, man, this is a little too on the nose right now.
Well, they had to put a disclaimer at the beginning of each episode.
Yeah.
Like, basically saying, this is not real. Do not read into this.
Which is exactly what they would want you to think.
But, like, how many shows or movies get delayed, like, if there's a mass shooting or something, and they will edit something or delay it? Like, to have a show about an impending pandemic and a vaccine people don't trust.
That is rushed.
Rushed vaccine. So, like, I don't know. Maybe they thought if we don't put it out now, we'll never be able to air this show.
I thought one of the, like, the lighter notes of it, it was interesting that the group of these characters, like, they had never met in real life. It was all just online, like, chat room. Like, it was, like, one of the old style chat rooms. Like, it was just via text because one of the guy was, like, super cryptic and didn't trust or believe in anyone. And so, I mean, that was cute. Like, when they found out, one of the characters was actually, well, I wasn't going to give it away, but yeah.
It's all right. This won't come up.
John Cusack's probably the biggest star in it. Had Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office. Not a whole lot of big stars or anything. The cast was fairly young. Although it did have Corey Michael Smith, who played the Riddler in Gotham. He played Edward Nygma in the Gotham show.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's why he looked familiar.
Yeah. I could not figure out who that guy was.
Went to Otterbein College, my alma mater, so I always root for Corey Michael Smith to get better roles in Gotham.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was a rough ride.
The problem is there wasn't enough magic. It was too rushed. There wasn't enough magical elements in it. Like, because at first you're looking at this fantasy world that they believe in that's predicting these real world events, and the curtain is pulled too quickly to see who the Wizard of Oz really is. Like, that should have been drawn out more. I feel like maybe Amazon was like, they gave them a limited budget, a limited amount of time, and said, you need to do this now or it's not happening.
Yeah, if the whole idea of who is Mr. Rabbit, this mysterious villain, if that was supposed to be a mystery, it didn't, like, it was. I thought it was fairly obvious from pretty early on, but I won't reveal who it is.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, I told Michael my main issue with it was I didn't really have anybody to root for. Like, they weren't very likable characters for me.
You didn't like the kid from Cougar Town?
But even with
Jessica Hyde.
Wow. But yeah, with Jessica Hyde, she in the book she's the hero or whatever, and I did not, I could not find anything redeemable about her at all. Like, there was nothing there for me.
Early on, I thought, wow, they're taking a very unlikable character, and she's gonna have an arc where she learns to trust people, and we learn more about her. And, like, it didn't really happen. She was just kind of a flat line through the whole thing.
No,
everyone just tolerated her.
She was forcing reality down their throats. Like, they didn't want to believe, and that's where it. As a TV show, you kind of suspend your your imagination for whatever pseudoscience is going on, and she just was cramming down the real, true violence of the world and what really happens. But at the same time, there's these weird cryptic things because most of the time they didn't believe her either, and then things would happen and they would just be like, whoa, this is really happening.
And that, to me, the suspending disbelief really stretches for me on stuff like that, where it's like they look at a code and it's like, wait, there are 7 stars on this. How many stars are on the flag of this country? Like who would ever? How do you tie those clues together? That makes, it's very tenuous connections to a lot of this stuff. And it, like you said, it does move very fast. Things just like fall into place. People meet, characters meet, and then things happen. There was this, it was busting at the seams a little bit, and I was fine when it ended. I don't think I'll stick around for a second season. I wasn't. It ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, so I assume there's going to be more.
Yeah.
But I don't know if I'll stick around for it.
You guys basically all kind of chatted about this in our private chat and convinced me not to watch it, so I have nothing to say about it. Everybody was like, this is a really dark show, and there's no light anywhere. I was like, okay, no.
I liked it.
I don't mind stuff like that, but we were watching something else already that was like that.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, I mean, really, like, the most interesting character in the whole thing for me was, Weirdo Arby.
That's what I told Jordan when I was down there the other day. I was like, Arby's the shining star of the show. And that's not saying a lot.
No.
And even his character just sort of made a decision to do something halfway through, and it's like it was never fully made sense, but yeah.
So let's segue over to, do you guys like this less than, I assume, than The Boys season 2? Or
yeah.
Much less, yes.
Yeah, The Boys is definitely much better.
Federal authorities have initiated a multi-state manhunt for William Butcher.
If anyone spots William Butcher or any of his known associates, Marvin Milk, Hugh Campbell, or this man, please call 1-888-0-CRIME.
The world still needs superheroes.
So let's get out there.
I believe in love the season 2 of The Boys.
Don't you worry. Daddy's home.
Yeah,
I like season 1 a lot, but I think this season was probably better for
me. They're both very good. I thought season 2 had just a little bit of a maybe it was just that first episode, just a little bit of a slow beginning. Like, I was like, oh, okay, all right. And I had mentioned before, like, it'd been a while, so I had some trouble remembering what had happened all in season 1, other than, hey, I liked that show. But eventually,
I watched a recap since you had said that. I watched a recap of season 1 before I watched season 2, so I didn't have any that problem. But
no, we love
it. I like it, but I think it suffers from this many episodes, this long of episodes. Just, I still feel like there's some filler in there of dead air to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the boys themselves don't do a whole heck of a lot as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I definitely think the main characters, there's some character development in season 2. We get more of a backstory with most of them, and they develop a more, I guess, believable, because we know the backstory a little bit, a more believable relationship amongst their group or whatever. But yeah, I mean,
like, I don't care, that one guy, the French guy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I want this to be like something, but I just want to fall asleep too when it's him and the girl that doesn't talk. So then he has to carry the whole scene, and he can't do it. So I'm just like, okay, go on to something else. This is not, they don't make any progress, I guess, till like the very end of the season. It's just like, it's constantly, they don't connect right or something. Like, she's trying to explain
almost
something.
Like they're trying to be episodic. Like, it seemed like each episode had a different plot. Okay, this episode we have to get in the car and go here to do this. and then whatever it is never really works, and then they do something else the next episode. But they're not really standalone episodes, and there is a lot of filler to connect those from plot to plot. So right. I get your argument. I like the characters well enough that I don't mind just spending time with them and.
I like the hero, not the heroes, but I like the 7 characters.
Yeah,
those are the ones that interest me. Other than, I like Huey and whatever, but the new girl, gosh, I can't think.
Starlight.
Yeah. She's from You're the Worst. I can't think of her name. I feel bad, but she's great.
Shoot. The actress's name, you mean?
Yeah.
It's something. Starts with an M, doesn't it?
I don't know. I'm not.
Anyways,
Jordan will look it up. But anyway, I love that new character. That dynamic, and
Aya Cash.
Okay. I don't know. But
you're talking about Stormfront.
Yeah.
Okay.
I like her, and I just liked the whole story with her and how evil she was, the way she acted. I like how she just kind of like put Homelander in his place, and I mean that guy's great anyway. All the stuff he does and the things with the son and the wife, all of that stuff. That was good. That was interesting to me. So, but I could do with. I would really like to see something more than this crutch of exploding heads. It's like, do they have another? You got another tool in this belt?
They had a beach whale.
Yeah, we got talking gills.
Yeah, that didn't throw me as much as I.
That beach whale scene, like
that was good. I was like, that's all that Nick had watched. He came out on his break or whatever. And I was like, I think this is going to be a good moment. I feel like I see what's happening here. But,
look on the deep space as they're just like going for it, and his look, like I laughed hysterically at that scene.
And I just like they're literally in the belly of the whale. Little Jonah moment.
Yeah, I definitely thought Homelander was better this season. Last season I don't know, he a little more comical or something. I don't know, but he was like, it did a good job of being terrifying. Like if Superman had no morals, how terrifying would that be? And that is the most that's been done a million times in pop culture, an evil Superman. But this really gets into that idea of like, we can't talk, he could be listening. He could show up at any moment. He has no qualms about killing anyone at any time. Like he's just terrifying, and it's like it's almost that toxic work environment where you walk on tiptoes and we can't offend the boss. So it's like it amps up those feelings of uncomfortableness to just this kind of level of terror of anytime this guy is anywhere near you.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah, I didn't love it, but I liked it. I would watch more.
Great.
And it's relevant in a way. Obviously, there's things that trying to reflect the politics of today or whatever, but like, I really like how it's dealing with the media, Hollywood, advertising, corporations, like the way things are marketed to us, and it does, it spoofs like the DC movies, like Zack Snyder set. The logo looks like the Marvel logo, so it's showing, hey, this is how they market superheroes to you in movies and fast food cups. Well, what else is being marketed to you in this way? The way social media, we have an army of people making memes that make you think one way about something, and that who is manipulating you and why and from where?
Yeah,
it's a good pop culture-y way to ask these questions.
Well, that stood out to me too. Like, there were points where they would show Homelander, here's video footage of Homelander killing people, and it made no difference. The people still loved him. he came out with some BS excuse about how he was, defending their freedom or something, which I was just like, this is totally believable. Like, the people still love him. They do. He literally murders people and nobody cares.
But and at the same time, like, he's like, the only thing that he is worried about is his popularity. Like, he completely loses his mind and like drops 2 points in popularity.
And how they can use the threat of supervillains to scare the population into going along with whatever they want them to.
Mm-hmm.
Terrorists. I like the fight over terrorists versus supervillains. Or whatever.
Yeah, it's all about the marketing and how things are presented to the public being more important than what's actually happening.
Well, and like even the same thing of like when he was bringing out Maeve as being a lesbian, like that whole thing and how that was marketed.
Yeah, it's got to be focus grouped and we got to make sure it clicks with the right demographic. Yeah.
Had a really Big Little Lies ending.
Yeah.
What's the name of that show?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely.
Just remember, I can do whatever I want. That was a great scene.
Well, speaking of comic book adaptations on Prime, we got a trailer for Invincible.
Son, kids your age think they're invincible. And it holds them back, makes them careless. You hear it?
I do.
Were you nervous?
A little. Oh, crap. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. I can do this. I need something to punch.
This is the beginning of a long journey for you, son. The thing is, you're different. You actually are.
Superhero comic from Robert Kirkman, creator of The Walking Dead. Has anyone ever read this?
I've read very little of it. I was thinking about getting like one of the big collected editions because it looks good. And from what I read, the animation of this is perfect.
It might be the closest I've ever seen. Ryan Otley's art is very clean and very crisp and looks like a animation cell almost. So it looks directly lifted off the page. All the costume designs, all the character looks. Yeah, it was very impressive.
Yeah. I'm definitely going to check that out. It makes me like, okay, now I guess I got to read it. I don't know what to do now.
Well, I picked up one of the omnibuses, so I'm about 25 issues into it because it was a big blind spot for me. It's a huge hit, and I just never read it.
How far to go?
There's 3 omnibuses, so it's something like 90 issues, something like that.
Yeah, I was thinking it was around 100. Yeah.
So, but multiple people I know, it's their favorite comic.
Huh.
And I know some comic people. But I had read like maybe the first 1 or 2 trades a long time ago, and it just it was fine.
That's where I was. That's what I was. Yeah.
So I'm like, what am I missing? That people love this book. So I'm getting into it. Yeah, kind of. There has to be something there, and I'm gonna find it. So this voice cast is incredible for this show. Mark, the main character, the teen Invincible, is Stephen Yeun from The Walking Dead. His dad, who is like the Superman character, the most powerful being in the universe, is J.K. Simmons,
who's all over the trailer. I was like, wow,
right? His mom is Sandra Oh. And then the rest of the cast is filled out. Mark Hamill, Seth Rogen, Jillian Jacobs, Zazie Beetz, Walton Goggins, Jason Mantzoukas, Mae Whitman, Zachary Quinto, Mahershala Ali, and everyone who's ever been on The Walking Dead. Carrie Payton, Lauren Cohen, Sonequa Martin Green, Chad Coleman, Michael Cudlitz, Lenny James, Russ Marquand. So that could be the best voice cast ever assembled for anything.
Amazon's getting it done.
Indeed.
When you get a little further in there, let me know whether it's worth reading.
But it's just it's very generic. The origin story, the characters are all kind of parodies of other characters from other comic universes. But there is something there. There's a twist that's not typical, I would say, but I'm sure it'll get there in the first season of the show. But like in the first issue, I was telling Mike about this the other day. He's working at a fast food place before he gets his powers, and he goes to throw a bag of trash into the dumpster, and he throws it, and it like shoots up into the sky and disappears. He's like, yes, finally got my superpowers, and he goes off and does his day. And then like 15 issues later, there's a scene in Europe somewhere, and a bag of trash falls from the sky. And it's like, oh, okay, he's been putting little pins in. And then they do it again. He graduates from high school, throws his cap into the air. It disappears. And like 20 issues later, it lands right next to the bag of trash. So it's like he's playing a long game. There's more to it. And I think he's set some stuff up. I'm sure there's twists and turns. I think I've heard some things just through osmosis of different characters, who lives, who dies, who gets together. So I know there's more to it than just, but again, I hate to say, it's like read 300 pages of a novel before it gets good. Like it's hard to say, oh, you got to read the first 7 trades before it really gets good. So I don't know, but I'll keep you up if it's.
Does that mean time travel? Is there any time travel involved?
If it's superhero, I'm sure there.
Maybe it'll talk me into it if I can squeeze it into a time travel segment. I do kind of want to read it because I don't hear everything bad about it. I just thought it was a little cookie cutter little bit I had read, but I assume it's got to be something. But I'm excited to check out the animated series. There's a series
actually came out before The Walking Dead. It was like 6 or 7 issues were out before The Walking Dead ever came out, and it was not a big sales hit from the beginning, but it lasted as long as Walking Dead did.
Cliff, I watched something that I feel like I heard of it from you. The series Pen 15.
Yes.
Didn't you talk about that once?
Yeah.
They had the second season or a part of the second season released on Hulu.
Yeah, we watched a few minutes of the first episode, but that was as far as we got with season 2 so far.
Okay. Well, I've watched everything that's out. But this series, to recap for people, is the comedic story of middle school seen through the eyes of 2 7th grade girls dealing with the awkwardness of being a teenager. And this stars, these 2 women are Maya Erskine and Anna Conkle.
Yeah.
And that they are both in their 30s playing 7th graders.
Right. Yeah.
And
I talked about this whenever season 1 first came out.
Right.
And
everyone else in the cast plays with them as students, everything play the correct age.
Right.
They're the correctly cast.
Yes.
So it's 2 women in their 30s playing 7th graders alongside children. And they just act like they act like they're 7th graders.
It's set in the 90s.
Yes.
Yeah.
And they are correct. It's set in the year 2000. It's the year 2000.
Yeah, right turn.
And they are in real life, they are correctly aged. They were in that grade in the year 2000.
They are
That's
playing
why they've done it like this.
Basically themselves at that age.
Yeah. Yes. It is something. I want it to be. I don't know that it is, but it's so close. Like I love the idea. I think both of them are great. The problem, I think, is they're so good that the whole point, the whole twist that they are adults playing kids is almost lost. They pull it off to such a degree that it is just like you are watching a bunch of middle schoolers. They're not any contrast to that.
No, my wife enjoyed this. My wife enjoyed season 1 way more than I did because it creeped me out. Because visually, they are
goes pretty far.
Yeah, they're grown women, but in these situations and acting along with these kids, I was just like, it's too creepy. I can't get by it.
Well, I would say in season 2, they're so, by that point, it is just like I said, they just go right, they meld right with them. It does not feel like they are 30-year-olds doing it. So I almost wish, other than the fact I think they're both great, I wish they looked older, so it was more ridiculous. But the not spoil anything, they really push it though to show you they have a play. So one of them plays, they are a 33-year-old playing a 13-year-old that is playing a 50-some-year-old in a play, and alongside a 13-year-old playing a 50-some. It's just like, and that's pretty amazing. That, because they pull it off. It just, you believe every bit of it. That's and it shows how good of actors they are. I'm impressed by the show. I will watch more when it comes out. Like, they didn't release all of the second season according to IMDb, but there's like 8 episodes or something so far out. But it's interesting. It's worth checking out and see whether it's for you or not. But I definitely enjoyed what I saw of it. I think they're super talented, and some of the quirky things they say. When I saw the first episode of the first season, one thing I like. Well, they just don't have the money, but they played songs from the specific time that fit. They just can't afford to do it every episode. Mm-hmm. So, I think when they finished the first season, they had a song or two they were able to have at the school dance to kind of give it that flavor, but they just can't afford the soundtrack to do things. And it's funny to me because some shows just throw money at that kind of stuff, and it's too bad that other ones can't afford to do it. That's all about Pen 15 on Hulu is worth checking out if you have Hulu.
Yeah, I guess that was last night. Cliff and I were talking, and I guess you guys have brought it up on the podcast before, but I too enjoy Working Moms on Netflix.
You don't even know the name.
It's Working Moms.
Oh, whatever. Give me a break.
You can't pronounce that hard G. It's just working.
Yeah. So last night, it was pretty funny that I didn't bring it up, guys. They didn't know I'd ever seen Working Moms.
It's become a Working Moms episode again.
But yes, we had a big discussion on Working Moms, and let me just tell you, other people at the table agreed with my opinion that the Jenny in that show is terrible. She needs to go. And
for all you know, this is the show that my future self is going to have to tell me that I watched. It's not.
But yeah, so I felt good about my comments and reviewing the previous 4 seasons, and it was nice to find out I am not the only one awaiting season 5 of Working Moms.
So what about this? What appeals to you about Working Moms here, Michael?
It's just funny. It's I think it's well written. It even though it's a comedy show, it does show real aspects of what working moms have to deal with through their daily lives and the battles that they have to face while doing their comedic performance. But it's just entertaining. I actually laugh out loud quite a bit on that show. There's usually at least one scene every time that and there's not many shows that actually I guess, do it for me in that way.
And Michael is in agreement with my wife on the lips issue. That the central character, it is a little distracting.
Yeah, because it's obviously that she had buck teeth when she was a little kid, and her lips kind of like conform to that.
As long as she's not an albino.
And you guys mentioned Schitt's Creek earlier. Like, we just started watching that because everyone kept talking about it.
Mm-hmm.
I see it's like on in syndication now. I see other channels it was like the CW isn't playing it late at night, and Comedy Central was playing it a couple of nights. So it should get a bigger audience with all this press it's been getting.
And every season's available on Netflix too now.
Yeah, that's where we've been watching it.
And do you like it? Are you gonna continue watching it, or are you?
I don't remember what the guy's name, but the one that plays the mayor of the town.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really been a huge fan of his comedy. I'm surprised that, because I remember when he had that show back in the day. I think it was on Fox.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm trying to think what his name is. But anyway, it's just he completely turns me off. Like, I just can't get that comedy. It's too lowbrow. But I love the son character, and like it's more about how the kids interact in that town from the situation that they grew up in that I find the more comedic areas of the show.
Right. Yeah.
Dan
Levy is
Chris Elliott.
Chris Elliott is the comedian, but Dan Levy, to me, I mean, Eugene Levy's very good. I mean, obviously, but Dan Levy to me is the real standout star of that show. So, I mean, Catherine O'Hara is great. We expect them to be great. Dan Levy, I did not know about before this, and I mean, it's his show. Of course, I get it. He's, the showrunner or whatever, but
and his daughter's on the show too.
Yes, she plays the waitress, Sarah Levy. She plays Twyla.
Yeah,
and but yeah, it just made him a superstar.
Like, there's that one scene that I just watched the other day of him trying to explain that he's basically pansexual by doing it by talking about wines. And, I mean, that was hilarious. So, I mean, it does have really good moments in it.
Now, are you and Christy, are you watching this together, or
yeah,
okay.
That's one of the shit. Like, she won't. That's the same thing with working moms. There's certain show. Yeah, sure, whatever. But there's certain shows that, like, she'll wait when I'm available to watch, and like that's a new one since we finished the other one. So,
and also
there's a show. Oh, sorry.
Well, I was just going to mention, because The Haunting of Bly Manor is out on Netflix. I believe yesterday, and so I saw it popped up there, and I was hoping to get into that here pretty soon. I came home tonight from work, and my wife was already watching it. So,
I've seen a
couple people mention it, but I haven't heard any real buzz about it yet.
I've just heard it's not as good as the
Haunting of Hill House. Yeah,
so I was like,
the most important question: does it involve a Gugino? Is it Gugino? Is it a whole new cast?
We have that emoji now.
Yeah,
we have this emojis coming.
I assume it's a whole new cast and not the same actors, right?
I believe so.
No idea.
Well, there's my Working Moms is a show I continue to watch, but none of you guys do until this week for some reason with South Park.
I am very proud to announce a pandemic special.
They're gonna try and make us go back to school. You really want to go back to that slavery? Yo, get out of my house! You could be spreading germs!
welcome back to class. I'm your new teacher, Detective Harris. You guys don't seem totally stoked.
A pandemic special, Randy? Really?
Yeah.
Anytime I mention South Park, you guys you have not watched it since 1997.
There's so many episodes.
Why did you this pandemic special was this week? So what made you jump in?
You want to know why? You don't know why?
Why?
Because it was on HBO Max.
Yeah.
They put it on the front page.
Right.
It came up just on the suggested front page thing, the South Park : pandemic special. So that's the only reason I watched it.
It's not like a season premiere. It's not part of it's a standalone hour-long episode. And it says it was the highest rated episode in 7 years.
Yeah, and that's why I watched it, was because I felt it was a one-off. And
yeah, that's why it was a draw. Was I didn't have to have anything else. I'm part of this pandemic. I've seen some South Park. Boom, I got this.
Well, there was some continuity involving the Disney episode, I believe I mentioned on here before, about where they try to, Marvel and Disney go to China to try to cater to it the way Randy did to sell his marijuana.
Because got to get some of that D. I can't believe you watched it, Cliff, after you saw us commenting. I was like, I can't wait to talk about this, and you watched it.
Yeah, I watched it.
Wow.
I shook my head the
basically,
whole time.
we can spoil it too, because I don't care. We got to get down the nitty gritty.
What I like right from the beginning, it shines what do you call it? Lampshades it where it says, "This is not helpful, Randy. This is not the time for this. We don't need a pandemic special right now."
Right.
And it's basically saying, who is this for?
Mm-hmm.
Why are we wasting our time on this? No one needs this right now.
But everybody talking about, the pandemic special is so good. It's like as we're watching the pandemic special.
So
we don't need this show. We don't need this concoction.
So that was from last season. Again, the whole through line was him becoming a weed farmer in Colorado. And it was, did he do a Halloween special? He did a special blend of marijuana he called his Halloween special.
Right.
And it was like, I've seen a million Halloween specials, Randy. We don't need a new Halloween special. It's like, it's gonna be great. You're gonna love it. So this became the pandemic special, but it was all like, that's probably in poor taste. We probably shouldn't do that, Randy. It's like, yeah, but people need it. They need to have a good time and chill out.
It was really funny. I like the whole thing, like just the thing with the chin diapers. They're wearing their chin diapers, and the guy's like, "I got a package for you." It's like, could you put your diaper on your chin? And then they both just go up and they both have it down on their chin. They're like, "Okay, that's fine. As long as you have your diapers." Then later, like, you need to, when the Dr. Fauci's like, you need to put that over your mustache or whatever. And like, who's going to put a diaper on their face? I don't know. But anyway, the whole main thing was that finding the source of the pandemic, which was when Randy and Mickey Mouse went over to China to make these deals about Mulan and all this stuff. And Randy had thought he was flashing back to when they went in there and there was a bat. And Mickey Mouse was telling him it's just a mouse with wings. And they're like, so they are in the alley, I think, having sex with this bat. And it just was so hilarious, so funny. And then what they remembered later, he remembered it wasn't a bat, it was a pangolin.
Mm-hmm.
Like the CDC tested it, and like the DNA didn't come from a bat.
Yeah. It was
in your face, Sharon.
Yeah. But what my favorite part of the whole thing was, because he's following the news to try to see what's going on, because there's the whole thing he's going to add it, but they figured out that it was the DNA of whoever had put their DNA into the pangolin. However they had inserted it in the pangolin. The scientists are talking about it, and he is standing there with the scientists. Randy is, and they're like, all like, who the heck would have sex with a pangolin? This thing is so ugly. And they're like, yeah. And he's like, all right. He's just like, calm down. And then the best line, they go, we have to know what raped the pangolin. and he's just standing by him. Also, now it was raped. He knows that was consensual sex he had with that pangolin.
Now, I will say
Did you like when Mickey Mouse sent him?
It was a rough watch.
A bloody heart in the mail.
It was a rough watch, and it
made it so much better for me knowing you are out there.
Yeah,
we were gonna get to talk about it.
Now, I did highly enjoy towards the beginning, very much what I would have enjoyed 20 years ago watching South Park, and Eric Cartman as the virtual student cracked me up.
Yeah.
That was absolutely my favorite. That they have their whole Zoom call, and of course,
that stuff writes itself.
Yeah. He's got the stick with the flag on it that says 6 foot, and he's like, 6 foot, Mom, 6 foot, and he's poking her with it. That cracked me up. And then, of course, he gets
cut out to put in front of the thing.
Right, yeah. He gets on the Zoom call. He has a picture of himself like frozen, so he doesn't have to sit through the school. Like I've always said, like, if I was in my child's place right now, there's no way I would be going to school. I would have been like, virtual school? Hell yes. I'm never going again. And not because, I love my friends and stuff like that, but school sucked. And so if you would have given me the chance to just sit there and turn that computer on and then walk away from it, I would have totally done the same thing.
But they put the cops in charge of the school because the teachers couldn't do that. So the cops turned school into prison.
Right. Which
was just so, I mean, they definitely are making a lot of commentary. The best moment though really was Stan's speech at the Build-A-Bear at the end, and it wasn't like it was something eloquent. It was just like what we're all thinking, what everybody's dealing with differently, but he's just like, I just want my life back, the whole thing. I'm trying to help here or there, but I just want to go back to what was normal, and it was a good moment, him going off and just really getting to say.
Well, it's definitely more meaningful for, a group like us that is trying to do our best to social distance. We wear masks, all of that stuff that we're currently living, opposed to, the rest of where we live. It feels like is, their life never hardly changed. They just got mad when everything closed down, but they didn't do anything. They haven't done anything differently. They're still not doing anything differently.
I had an older lady come in the shop. Her husband has a pull list with me, and she came in to pick up his books, and her husband's not in good health. She is not in good health. And she was like breathing heavily because walking up the sidewalk. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I forgot my mask. I was like, would you teach me how to do that? How do you forget? I never forget. There's no moment I'm awake where I'm not thinking about the pandemic and what I've touched, what I've put on my face, what's near me, who's breathing at me. It's like, please teach me how in the world you could forget for one moment. I would kill for one moment where I'm not thinking about
that. Yeah. It makes me uncomfortable, you guys being on here with no mask.
There's one of those filters for that.
Oh, I bet.
You can have a mask or a pirate hat.
Oh, you don't see I got a sheet of plexiglass right here.
But then I tune into NBC, who premiered a new show.
Is that the Zoom show?
Yes, it was called Connecting.
The
.. with a little ellipsis at the end. This was all our worst fears about what pop culture would become during and after the pandemic, of how hilarious everything would be over Zoom. So I wrote down the description for it. It gave: a friend group gathers for their new normal virtual hang. And I thought that there annoyed me. Like, that was terrible. Like, I had to watch it because I have to report on the pop culture. And
right there. I don't mean to interrupt you, Jordan, but I'm going to anyway.
Yes.
But when a word like takes on a whole new meaning, like the word virtual, like how it's always been meaning as virtual reality. Like that is the hot buzzword. I don't know how many times I hear that a day of like virtual hang, virtual con, everything's virtual. Okay, you can continue now.
But yeah, virtual has kind of become reality. But yeah, this was a Zoom sitcom, and it was a group of friends, and it was like the most generic sitcom plot, written as generically as possible, and acted by people like us talking into Zoom. And it was I watched the first 10 minutes of the first commercial break and then just fast forwarded to the end because it was the acting was just like, I don't know, guys, what do you think? And like, I really loved my kids, but until I was around them for 24 hours a day, now they're monsters. And like just every joke you could think about being virtual. And I was like, oh, this was on network television. Someone paid money to these people to make this show. So no recommendation there.
Finally, we found something bad.
I'm
not even gonna say it tried. It doesn't even rise to the level because it was not trying. It was not trying at all.
It died.
One show that is trying that I've only watched one episode. I really liked it. I actually kind of forgot to go back to it to check out the rest of it. But have any of you caught Woke on Hulu?
I watched an episode. My kids really liked it.
Yeah, it's got the actor from New Girl that
Winston.
I don't remember his name.
Demore Barnes, I think.
Well, but anyway, he plays
Morris.
He plays a cartoonist that's about ready to break into mainstream, and he's never really thought of like all the racial things that are going on, and how his comic's just a funny thing about toast and milk and toast, huh?
We see visually his imagination, his inside his head as he's looking at things, and then we're seeing animated characters on regular objects talking.
That's after like an incident happens where he's awoken to what's really going on in the world, where before he was just doing this like comedic shtick little cartoon, and then he gets woke to because they think he robbed someone or something like that, so he gets to experience the arresting and being manhandled by the police, and it just kind of wakes him up to where he kind of goes off the deep end and starts imagining all these things of how's he going to put his mark on the world versus drawing these silly cartoons, which some of us can relate to.
So is it a tragedy or a comedy?
I don't know. I'll get back to you on that.
No, I meant the show, not your life.
But it was nice, like seeing him at a convention panel as his comic was getting ready to hit, and him just completely losing it and going off the deep end. Like, I mean, I could see that happening so many times in real life at conventions. But it looks like it. I'm gonna have to go back and watch the rest of it. I was just curious if anyone checked it out.
Yeah, and because I did the same thing. We watched an episode, and like the teenagers really kind of liked it, and I thought it was good. And I had the thought of like, oh, here's another Hulu show. Dave, Pen 15. There's been several here lately that I was just kind of like, oh, this might be good too. And then I just never went back to it. I haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah. And it's interesting how he speaks in it too. Like, that doesn't sound like him at all. It was like, I don't know if he got like an acting coach to, it's just the way like he enunciates words and things. Like, it's almost like he has like a different dialect than
acting.
A lot of roles. Huh? Other roles he's
There's a million other things we could talk about, I'm sure. I'll throw one more out there. Just want to mention that Fargo is back on FX. It's been literally years since season 3, so the 4th one is out. They don't call them seasons. Sorry, it's like chapter 4 or series because they're all standalone. So I'm happy to have Fargo back. I'm not sure how much I'm loving it, but I don't care because it's so engrossing. Whatever's going on, this is the show I get sucked into the most, where I don't know how long I've been watching. I'm not distracted with other stuff. Like every scene, I'm just hanging on whatever's going on. So
I'm watching it too. Yeah. So far, there's so much to like. I want more from it because I know how much I love the first 2 seasons. I like the 3rd season too, but those first 2 are really strong for me. And then I want this to be great. I like what they were setting up, all the different, families through time and how everything repeats itself. And Chris Rock as a crime boss and things, and it's got so much going for it.
So it's a period piece set in 1950 Kansas City, and the crime families from the Jewish organized crime family was taken out by the the Irish family was taken out by the Italian family, and now there's a black crime family involved. So it's sort of it's the give and take of different immigrants coming to America and making their own place in the world. On each episode, there's been 3 so far, and they've all been way over an hour. The first 2 premiered on the same night. I didn't watch them both on the same night. It was a long go, but it said there's 11 episodes of this season. I don't know what that. I don't know if that's why the odd number, but they're all. We're gonna get our money's worth because it's really long, and I didn't know who. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say I feel like they might be packing too much into it though. There's a whole serial killer storyline and stuff going on. I don't know.
And I did not know who Jesse Buckley was. Literally, the whole first episode, I thought it was Carrie Coon.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And then the credits play, and I'm like, wait, that wasn't Carrie Coon?
I don't even think they look alike.
Just something, the voice, I don't know. I for some reason, I thought that was her. But
I've seen 2 movies with her in the last year. I just watched one. I just have never brought it up yet. Was Charlie Kaufman's new movie on Netflix? I'm thinking of ending things.
Yeah, she's kind of an indie darling at the moment.
Yeah, and Wild Rose from last year or the year before, she played a musician, singer, or whatever. She was good in both of those. I mean, she's good. She's a good actress.
She's kind of the breakout character probably. I have no clue how she fits into things. Chris Rock is fine. I don't think he's maybe the best actor. Jason Schwartzman's in it. Timothy Olyphant. Lot of good character actors.
Yeah, it's good. It's good enough. I'll definitely watch it.
I'm gonna throw a book. Noah Hawley wrote novels. Did you know he was a novelist?
I did not know
that. My last trip to the dollar store. Another good dollar store book find. So the creator of Fargo is Noah Hawley, and apparently he wrote several books. This is from the 90s. And then when he got famous again through TV, they re-released them. So there's 3 or 4 novels out there he wrote, and I'm about halfway through it. It's he's a professor of conspiracy theories, and his wife is killed on a plane crash, and there's another man with her. And it's like, was it something nefarious? So his first thought is the government involved? Is something being covered up? So he gets kind of deeper and deeper into what actually happened. And I've enjoyed it so far. It has some of that same kind of wit and sharp dialogue that Noah Hawley does really well on his show. So.
Cool. Well, not to be one-upped, I watched a documentary on CBS All Access called Console Wars. I had read the book by Blake Harris last year, and I finished this one, unlike Jordan, the one he just got out. I'm just kidding. Anyway,
I'll put my half a book up your 4 books.
Anyway, it was about the whole Nintendo Sega thing. It was all about it's all about marketing. It's about they got that Tom Kalinske from Mattel who had like made Hot Wheels big, Barbie big, Masters of the Universe. He was like a marketing god basically, and Sega went and hired him and said, "You got to come work for us and try to take some of this market share that Nintendo had 95% of," and he did it. And I really enjoyed the book, and I enjoyed the documentary, but only for the fact of being able to see all the footage of re-see it. But like they did this mall tour at the time and just did all kinds of neat marketing things, but the commercials that were out and just everything. But to actually get to visualize it, see some of the video games and things was neat. But I think the book was just a better way to do it. It came off more interesting. We were watching the documentary and Nick was like, "Man, this is not that exciting." I was like, "Well, I'm telling you, the book was exciting. I am not the book is always better. I actually thought this was definitely going to be better because of how visual video games are and things, but it was kind of a little letdown for me. It wasn't very fun, but I like the story. That's right in the sweet spot of video games for a lot of people, the whole Nintendo Sega battle.
It's crazy to me because like whatever audiobook I was listening, it was the history of Nintendo, but how crazy it is to think that when Sega came out and they were burning through all that cash, Nintendo wouldn't do anything. Like they just sat back and waited for them to burn through all their cash.
Yeah, that was back when they did all their big presentations at the Consumer Electronics Show or E3, and they and to actually see some of them, it's just how obnoxious Nintendo was, and Sega was just like cutting edged, like really appealing with much more exciting presentations. And it was just funny to watch them drop the ball. Nintendo had such a market share. But what's funny is to watch it is just how we are so manipulated by marketing. It didn't matter. Well, it was just like what they were selling us. Sega was just like, Nintendo's for kids. Sega's for, cool people. And it just totally put Nintendo in this light of,
and it totally worked.
And it worked, yeah. Totally worked on a bunch of people like, oh, I'm whatever Nintendo. I'm a big boy. I play freaking Sega, and then
like Sonic the Hedgehog.
Kind of disappointed me because they go into all that, how they came up with that, and but the book went into way more detail about the guy that did the Sega. They've talked about that slang, that whole use of saying that, yelling that, but they didn't talk about the history of it. And that story is way more exciting than just the commercial. Anyway, it's a doc. If you like video games, it's still worth watching, but didn't blow me away. I don't know if you guys have anything else, but I have to end on a high note. I have one last thing. Ted Lasso. I've been telling you guys the last couple days.
That is a great show. I love that show.
Okay.
Oi, mate, there's you.
I believe it is.
Wicked. You coaching football. You are a legend for doing something so stupid. I mean, it's mental. They're gonna murder you.
This is a bit of news from the other side of the Atlantic. AFC Richmond announced the hiring of their new manager, American football coach Ted Lasso.
You're an American who's now in charge of a football club, despite possessing very little knowledge of the game.
Oh! I know that AFC Richmond is going to give you everything they got, win or lose.
Or tie.
Right, y'all do ties here. Did you see that? He must be from England, yeah? Wales. Is that another country? Yes and no. How many countries are in this country? 4.
Like it or not, Richmond are changing the way we do things. And from now on, that way is the Lasso way.
Hey, look, this car's got an invisible steering wheel.
What you're doing is irresponsible. This club actually means something to this town.
You don't think I see that every day out there on the streets?
Are you kidding me?
I think that's what it's all about. Embracing change.
Same thing!
Being brave.
Your decision to bench Jamie was a masterstroke.
I don't think we're allowed to talk like that at work anymore.
You got the fear of the underdog.
For me, success is not about the wins and losses. It's about helping these young fellas be the best versions of themselves on and off the field. I always figured that tea was just going to taste like hot brown water. And you know what? I was right. Yeah, it's horrible. No, thank you.
Welcome to England.
They're talking about all these dark things and looking for some light in the darkness. There's a show. I got a week free of Apple TV Plus, and even if you have to get more than a week, it's $5 a month. So if I run over, I'm going to have a month of Apple Plus to catch up on shows. But Ted Lasso is Jason Sudeikis plays a coach of American college football. I don't know whether he's supposed to be Wichita State coach or who he was supposed to be, but he was caught on some viral video doing a dance, a really Jason Sudeikis type dance, and it went viral, whatever. So he got a little fame. And he's hired by a soccer team, a football team in England, to be their coach. And he doesn't know anything about soccer, but it's a real major league situation where the woman got control of the team through a divorce, and she's trying to basically, she wants them to lose, so she hires like an unqualified person to coach the team. There's hardly any sports in this movie. I thought I was going to see a lot of soccer. It's not about that. It is about Jason Sudeikis playing this guy, Ted Lasso, who comes over and he is folksy and optimistic, and it is just about his relationships with his coaches and all the people that are like trying to do these dirty things, and he's just like the light in everyone's life. He has all these sayings, and he's very Jason Sudeikis. He's doing like, I can't pinpoint what character he is doing that he's done before, but he talks that quick, everything they say, he's got a thing to say back that's happy. It's got a Juno Temple is in it, plays what, like a girlfriend, but she does a really good job in it. It's excellent. It is so good. It's so good. If you want any light in your life, it is Ted Lasso.
It shows how a positive attitude can rub off on people.
Yeah. He's just like,
I had no desire to watch this because the trailer kind of makes it look like it's stupid funny. But like you actually start watching it and it's got good characterization. Like all the actors are really good in it, and the way that they put him in this situation and how it plays out, it's very entertaining and funny.
Okay, the other coach, his assistant coach, is so dry and good. I mean, that guy peaks late in the season too. So you get really late in the season. The last couple episodes are the best. So that's one good thing to look forward to.
Have you watched every episode?
Yeah, I watched the whole time.
Okay. One of my favorite scenes is where they have the water boy and he goes up and gives the talk to all of them and like starts ripping.
Nate the Great. It's Nate the Great. It's just like Jason Sudeikis just like, or what, Ted Lasso just makes everybody's great, like builds them up into these great people. And I love it. Is like in the first episode, he's like going to go to sleep. His other coach is going to sleep. It's like, hey, if we end up in the same dream, let's mess around and act like we don't know each other. It's just that kind of stuff. It's so fun. Anyway, highest recommendation.
I will second that. I am on the same page with Seth for once.
Yeah, it's just a feel good show. I need more of that show. That's it.
Good stuff all around, except for the bad stuff.
Dark and gloomy.
So yeah, there we go. That's all the TV you could possibly cram into 2 weeks of your life.
Yeah, this is a supersized episode.
All right, hey, thank you. If you have a getting to know you, you know me question that you'd like us to answer, shoot it our way. If you have a suggestion for a one job, give it to us. If you watched a show that's as good as Ted Lasso and you want to recommend it, some feel-good show that you loved, we will check it out. Let us know what you're out there doing and watching and enjoying. Until then, we'll see you next time. My name is Jordan Lowe.
Cliff Barnes.
I'm the illustrious Michael K. Easton, and I finally finished the second season of The Umbrella Academy.
The timing.
Goodbye forever.
Timing is on point.
Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. Sounds, music, and clips played during the podcast are property of copyright holders. All original content is property of www.udownwithkpp.com. If you enjoyed this podcast, please subscribe and leave a comment. Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found. You can connect with us through social media on Facebook, YouTube, at the Ka-Pow Podcast on Twitter, or email the show, Ka-Pow, the pop cultured podcast, @gmail.com. If you really want to go the extra mile, please sign up to be a patron through the Podbean app or our website, www.udownwithkpp.com, to receive special content and early access to some episodes. We are grateful to anyone that chooses to contribute, but please know that most of our content will always remain free, so please continue to like, comment, and share.